right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today and spending your afternoon with us. We know it's the weekend and it's the beginnings of the summer, and so we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Alex, thank you so much for the intro. We appreciate you for joining us as well and being here to support us. We are so excited. As Alex had mentioned, we had such a pleasure being at Hawaii State Art Museum last year, right before COVID hit. So we were very happy that we actually got to be with the people in person. And we hope and plan to, again, hopefully in the future. Thank you again for being here. So as we mentioned, we're going to go over creating passive income. We're also going to dive into some other things that will supplement in regards to branding, as well as navigating social media. So we have three large buckets. And then towards the end, we also have some tools and resources that we've compiled, whether you're a performing artist or a visual artist or a crafter. We thought that you might find beneficial. A little bit about us. Stan and I are a husband and wife duo. We met actually at art school. We both graduated from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York. Our careers pretty much have some overlap. Stan is a performing artist. I studied fashion design initially. We both went into education, working with middle school and high school, as well as younger youth. We initially provided a lot of services to middle school and high school students in the art field, whether it was music production or crafting. But then we had a lot of our peers that were like, hey, what about us? We need some supports and services. And so that's essentially what birthed Substantial Art and Music. So we're going to go over, as we mentioned before, feel free to take notes. We do have the link provided for you in the chat, so you can follow along with us, as well as download it for future use or future reference for your personal use. If we can go to, the agenda.
All right.
So today, again, as I mentioned before, we're going to go over an objective, developing your personal brand, creating passive income, navigating social media. We're going to designate some time for questions. But again, if you have questions throughout, feel free to enter them in the chat and we'll address them as time allows. And then at the end, we also have the tools and opportunities specific for performing and visual artists. Okay, today, and this is a great picture that we actually took at the Hawaii State Art Museum with some of the attendees that were there. Basically, our goal today is to provide the arts community with tools for creating passive income. Let's go ahead and continue. And Stan will take over with branding.
All right. So everyone, again, thank you for attending. So first and foremost, before you are able to create passive income, you really need to really do a deep dive and start thinking about your brand. What does that look like? And so let's talk about what a brand is. Your brand is a combination of your skills and experiences that make you who you are. Your brand is how you present yourself to the world. Your brand differentiates, you and your competition. I know. You from your competition. Your brand is what attracts prospective clients and employers as well. And so as you develop your brand, there are a lot of things that go into that. Some of which we just listed, but here's a list that you can kind of use to really hone in on. So know who you are and what you want to be known for. Master your craft as well. Determine your audience. Share your story. Find your niche and focus, and make sure you be consistent. That one is probably one of the things that I see most creatives and most small businesses struggle with is consistency. Develop your network. Also connect with your audience, be genuine, and measure your success. So really quick before we jump to the next one and really jump into passive income, let's just talk about what some of these things look like. So knowing who you are and what you want to be known for. For example, some people are multi-talented. They have multiple disciplines going on. Now you have to decide if those are things that you want to pursue simultaneously, if these are things that can kind of all work together, or if you really just kind of want to put one to the side for now and then focus on another one. But this is something you really need to start thinking about before you kind of spread yourself too thin, right? Also, mastering your craft. A lot of people, especially in today's day and age where we get quick results for so many different things that we do. So oftentimes people want to be successful before they put any real work in, which sometimes affects your staying power. So it's important that you want to take the time to develop and master your craft, and you should be working on bettering your craft and bettering yourself as frequently as possible. Also, it's important to share your story, right? And that doesn't just mean share what your business does, right? Or like, it's important for you to share how your business came to be, how you came to be the type of creative you are. What is your background? That some of the things in your background creates a certain relatability that some of your audience may, respect you even more, be more excited about what you have coming down the road, and so many other things. And it can potentially build like people who are faithful to your brand for a lifetime. All right. And finding your niche and making sure that you focus on that. A lot of times people want to kind of reach everyone, right? Cast like a wide net and just really kind of grab as many people as possible instead of really kind of centering and like focusing on people who are there for the specific thing you do, not just people kind of all over the place. You're looking for a very specific audience, and that sometimes creates, how can I put it? In music, sometimes what I talk to some of the students about is how we can see a great amount of success without necessarily having millions of people following us, right? Or even in some cases, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people following you. We talk about how sometimes if you're able to get, maybe a few hundred or 1,000 loyal people who are spending a certain amount of money on your business and your specific niche annually, you can create a real income for yourself. We already talked about consistency. The importance of your network is huge. The different people you have in your network, a lot of times the help that you need for your business is a phone call away, a text message away. So you don't have to kind of look so far out to find some of the support and assistance that you need. And building that connection with your audience has become a bit easier these days because of things like social media. But it's still great to kind of use some of the old forms as well, depending on what your demographic is. Being genuine. There's no replacement for being genuine. There's something about people who are just really being honest with their customer base and really kind of giving them a real look at who they are, what they've built, that people love and respect. And again, it creates this lifetime loyalty from your potential customers. And also taking the time to measure your success, whether that's something like what we do, a case study on your business, or just finding other ways that you can kind of document what you've done, compare it to what you maybe did months before, or what you did last year, but constantly looking at your growth. And looking within, not necessarily focusing so much on the competition and others around you, which oftentimes gets us discouraged, but really focusing on your growth as a business, your growth as a creative. All right. And without further ado, let's jump into passive income. All right.
Okay. All right. So with passive income, just giving you a brief description of what that is. So usually it's associated with most common forms is usually with rentals, right? So if you're a homeowner and you want to rent out your basement or, your garage. And so a lot of times people look at, when they think of passive income, they think that it's usually mostly associated with that. It's basically typically earning money without having to physically be present, or doing something one time and having that money continue make money for you. And so that's the gist of what passive income is. As a creative, as an entrepreneur, as an artist, there is a wide range of resources and skill sets that you can do that can generate passive income. And we're going to share those with you now. So if you are both, whether you're a visual artist or a performing artist, here's a list of things that you can do to start to begin generating money. If you are a writer, or if you're a person who creates audio, there's something that you can do with either ebook or in the form of an audiobook. You can share unique experiences or your expertise and share that in a form of an ebook. Audiobooks can be a great way to earn passive income. You could use Amazon Kindle. We recently published a book where we utilize Lulu. But basically using publishing as a platform to publish ebooks or audiobook. So that's one. Another one is doing kits or sample kits. And Stan actually has experience with that. If you are a musician and if you want to tap into that.
Yeah, sure. So kits and sample packs, like for other musicians. So maybe you are a musician who isn't someone who's maybe doing a lot of touring, a lot of like live performances and other things that we typically associate with musicians and success. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you can do is basically virtually anyone can create create and sell a sample pack. So like instrumentalists, vocal percussionists, vocalists, voice actors, producers, etc. You can upload your sample pack to websites like Loopmasters, Splice, Producer Spot, etc. You can even use websites, for the musicians who are familiar. You can use sites like Bandcamp as well. You can also use sample pack distribution sites like Rightsify and offer sample packs through your own website for a higher return. And so what a sample pack basically is, let's say you're a drummer, you can record yourself basically recording each different sound on your drum set, but then also like creating different rhythms, using different filters to create different sounds, whether it's a wet sound or a drier sound, all of these different things. And then you have producers like myself who go on these different sites, and rather than trying to kind of create everything completely from scratch, I can go on this site, pay a monthly fee or an annual fee, and get access to that library. And then basically those sounds that you created and recorded one time, literally thousands, tens of thousands of musicians globally have access to that library, and you get a little piece of it every time they download it.
And also for soundscapes. So for instance, if you're a person that's into film and maybe you want to hear rain, or you want to hear the ocean or air, or, an audience, these are certain things that you could literally get and capture and use that, and people can upload it or, and
Absolutely.
use it for their projects.
Yeah. If you're a person who travels a lot as well, basically just purchasing one of those Zoom recorders, like a high quality recorder, and documenting like the different sounds in your travel and uploading to these sites. And so it's not something that like most people who aren't musicians think about doing, but it's definitely something that if you have access to sounds that maybe not everyone has access to, but often go on these sites looking for these sounds, it's a great way to make passive income.
Yeah. Next, you can offer online classes, which is something that's been very popular. If you guys are familiar with Skillshare, I know they've done a huge marketing campaign on YouTube and other sites as well, where whether you sew, whether you draw, you paint, any skill or craft that you currently do, you can offer that as a course that people can later, do at their own. They learn through a subscription, through one of these sites, either Teachable or Lynda. And that's a great way to earn passive income. Again, what we were talking about before, where you can record yourself doing it one time, you upload it, you share it. You don't necessarily have to use these sites. They're most popular, but it's something that you can offer through your own personal site as well, depending on the following that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You want to talk about streaming?
Yes. So streaming. Now, if you are a person, a musician of a certain age, as I stroke all the wisdom in my beard, if you're a
and
person,
mine is covered,
right? If you've been at this for a while, it seems like a lot of older musicians oftentimes do not like or love streaming. But streaming is probably one of the better ways for musicians to earn passive income. And so having your music on a digital streaming platform is a great way to generate passive income. Similar to audio video content can be sold, rented, or streamed for a small fee. Musicians can submit to playlists / tastemakers to help you grow your fan base and increase your income. No asterisks there, but I'm gonna add one anyway. It's important to also know, because a lot of times when people hear tastemakers and all of these different things and how to submit their stuff to tastemakers, they oftentimes think that there's a fee associated with it. It's actually illegal for you to pay someone to be placed on their playlist. So if you ever come across a tastemaker who's trying to charge for that, they're technically not supposed to be able to do that. That's why Spotify removed nearly, I think it was over 750,000 songs, something crazy, some crazy number like that was removed from their site from people who were doing this process. But anyway, basically, you should encourage people to follow you on streaming platforms the same way you encourage people to follow you on social media if you're a musician. Partly because these sites automatically send emails to your base when you have new music released, and they have algorithmic playlists for the people who follow you, where they automatically place your new music in these playlists. And so it's something where if you spend a good amount of time to learn it, it can be the difference. And, you know, maybe you having a full-time job and doing music part-time to now you potentially doing music full-time because you're generating a lot of passive income through streaming. All right.
Next, we have subscriptions. So I mentioned this briefly before. You could either do this through your own personal website, or you can do it through sites like Patreon or even Bandcamp. Patreon is an organization that came out a couple of years ago, where folks who want to support, whether artists, creators, by providing your audience with exclusive content, you can then provide them with, for a fee, right? They could either do it, and it's really up to you. If you want to have someone, if they donate $1, then they get this. If they, if they donate upwards of, whatever money you want to figure, whatever figure you want to utilize, but basically you want to provide exclusive content to your patron, to your follower. And so whether it's, again, courses, whether it's just content that you're creating, behind the scenes videos, exactly, exclusive music, exclusive projects, access to tickets, viewings, whatever. And so that's another great resource that you may want to consider. Again, a lot of this that we're sharing with you, you still have to put in the work, right? You have to do the work initially, and it may seem like a lot, but once it's done and it's uploaded and it's taken care of, now it's just about marketing and promoting to generate the income. Yeah,
and just to piggyback on what she's saying, let me be very clear, right? Because we consult a ridiculous amount of people, and one of the things that we hear all the time is, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Oh yeah, I know about that." And we hear that all the time. The difference is, right? It's one thing to hear about it. It's another thing to act on the information that you get. Yeah. And so oftentimes people come to us for answers and for help because they see us acting on the information that we have and what we've been able to build for ourselves and for other people. Because when we get this information, we research it, we figure out what makes sense for us, and we don't lose a lot of time trying to decide, get everything perfect before you launch it. That's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make. They spend a lot of time overthinking this particular thing that they want to share with people. Patreon is a great place to use because oftentimes with Patreon, a lot of the creatives I know oftentimes aren't sharing finished work. They're sometimes sharing draft work, right? Just kind of seeing how the audience is feeling about this thing, or just showing them the process. and basically seeing income from the process as opposed to just seeing income from the final work.
Because essentially your audience are investing, right? They're investing in you.
Absolutely.
They want to have access. They want to support you. A lot of them are starting, artists that are just starting out, and it might be your friends, your family, your inner circle that just want to support you. And this is a way to do that. And also holds you accountable because people are investing in you. So you want to make sure that you're providing, what you set out to do. And then Instagram store.
Yes. So definitely you want to, if you have merchandise, you want to make sure that you set up your Instagram store. One of the things that we all typically do with Instagram and Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram, is we tell people, we try to post a link. If you post a link in your description on Instagram, it is useless. People cannot click on it. And then the other option that most people, basically tell folks is to click the link in my bio. Or if you're a person that has 10,000 followers or above, then you can use the swipe up feature. But if you set up an Instagram store, if you're eligible to do that, it allows people to be able to click directly on it in Instagram and basically follow that link to make a purchase. All right. So it's important that you have that set up if you do have merchandise, because again, this is another form of passive income. You upload this thing one time and people share it and do other things and interact with it. And once the work is done once, you continually make money from it going forward.
Yep. Right. And being that you said merchandise. So for the next thing, merchandise, you want to is basically selling merchandise online through your e-commerce website or site like Etsy, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, or another great way to earn passive income. And we're going to talk about print on demand. But again, if you have any product that you can sell, whether new or old, definitely uploading it either onto your direct e-commerce site or through another site like Etsy.
Absolutely. And so print on demand, and this kind of adds the passive side to merchandise, because of course, if people are ordering your merchandise and you have all the merchandise in your studio, then you have to get up, package it, do all of these different steps. But if you're utilizing something like print on demand, where instead of running out to get, a couple hundred shirts or hats or whatever it is that you need to manufacture, you can utilize print on demand sites. So rather than selling your art once, and pardon the typo, rather than selling your art once, you can offer prints of your work on the website like Printify, Printful, Redbubble, Shopify, Society6, Spreadshirt, etc. And basically you get a commission. So instead of manufacturing all this stuff, having to store it somewhere and then send it out, someone orders something, the site will then fulfill your order for you. And you can connect that with your main website. So it's built directly into your site. You can go ahead and plug in shipping information, all of these different things, setting it up once. And then from there, it's automated. And all you got to do is spend a little time and sometimes money if you have the budget for advertising to go ahead and let people know that this thing exists.
Now, we will say it can be tedious. I'm not going to
setting it up. Yes.
Setting it up initially, because you have to know the weight, and the more products you have and the different types of product you have, you have to do multiple steps for each one. So, we want to make sure that we're clear. However, it's work. However, but once you're done, again, it's pretty much from there. It's just really about promoting it.
And one of the things that'll help you with passive income, or just helping to generate more money from your art, for your business, all of these different things, is thinking about how, like, the one thing that you create, try to think of 7 to 10 ways to monetize the one thing every time you create something. I know for me, just in terms of, my fragile ego, right? When I create the one thing, a lot of times, if you have you have tunnel vision, if you have tunnel vision and you're really stressing that this is what needs to happen for this one thing I created, it oftentimes leads to disappointment when you focus so much energy in one area and it doesn't take off. And so over the years, we've learned different ways to monetize the one thing we create in a bunch of different ways. We make a song, we release the song. Maybe it does well streaming. Maybe it sells some vinyl. Maybe it does this. Maybe it does that. Maybe we take that song and turn it into a children's book. Maybe we do all of these other things. A lot of the stuff sounds far-fetched until you do it and it's successful.
Right.
And sometimes the original vision that you had for maybe the one thing that you thought was going to happen doesn't go anywhere. But the other thing you just kind of said in passing, maybe it was even a joke. And now it becomes the main, your main source of revenue for your business. So, it's really one of those things just about exploring the different options, putting fillers out there, communicating with your audience to see what they respond well to. And just kind of there. Yeah.
Yeah. For my visual artists that are in the room, renting out your artwork. I was a grants manager for a arts council here in our community in Virginia. And one of the things that we used to do is to support our visual artists is having their artwork hanging on our walls. And you can actually charge a fee for this, by providing a space, whether it's a school. And because of the year that we've had, a lot of folks hopefully have figured out that, we need to support the creative community. And this is one way that, your community at large can support you by, providing a space for you to basically hang your artwork or your sculpture. Basically, it gives you exposure. It provides you with an opportunity to meet new audience members, to showcase your artwork in maybe in a not so conventional space, whether it's a recreation center or a school, exactly, or a movie theater, local businesses in and around your area, a cafe. And so one of the things that you can utilize, sites like Rise Art, Turning Art, Get Art Up, are just a few sites that I highly recommend you look into. You can also contact your local businesses, as we mentioned, or your district or your county or your council, and see if would be interested in having your artwork at their location. Licensing?
Yes. So you can also submit photography and sometimes graphics to websites like Adobe Stock, Getty Images, iStock Photos, Shutterfly, etc. to earn passive income from your work. We're graphic designers and we develop like logos and all types of graphics for people, sponsored decks, all types of stuff. And listen, for every great idea that someone has, we do not have the time to, you want a casino in the background. I'm not driving to a casino to get a photo of it. What I'm going to do is go on one of these sites and that I pay to get access to this stuff. So I have it ready on demand. Yeah. And so plenty of people do this. We're not the only ones. And if you're a person who's shooting photos like on a regular basis, or maybe you're not doing fully fleshed out like designs, right? That's something that you can take these smaller graphics that you're creating and upload them to these sites and then, and make a little money from people like us who are basically using these graphics all the time to create these larger things. One thing that is not listed there, but is also a thing as well, if you're a person who has great handwriting, you can also create your own fonts and also sell those as well. So there are just so many different things that don't necessarily require the same amount of work as creating this larger, complete thing. That you can take these different pieces of your work and basically monetize them.
And going back to licensing and stock images, I highly recommend visiting these sites because we utilize them a lot. But one thing we'll notice is we'll look for a particular thing and they don't have
it.
So we have to sort of finagle and create our own. And so highly recommend doing your research, finding out what they have and what they don't have. And if you provide that, that's something even more of a reason. Like, how many more times are we going to see a Brooklyn Bridge? How many times are we going to see, the Golden Gate Bridge? But if you're going to show something else that may be not as popular, but you've been there, the odds of you getting included in that list is very strong.
Yeah. And you can also look at things that are popular as well, right? Things that they do have a lot of, and figure out ways to present it that it hasn't already been presented, right?
Absolutely.
Creating different looks of things that people are looking for all the time. All right.
For YouTube monetization, you can make money via YouTube advertising revenue, channel membership. It is a requirement to have over 30,000 subscribers. You could do merchandise shelf, which requires, again, 10,000 subscribers, super chat and super stickers, and YouTube premium. So for those of you who are already creating content on YouTube, there are definitely, some milestones that you have to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
But once you achieve those, I mean,
and it's really not as difficult, right, as some people believe it to be. And I say that simply because I've met 13-year-olds who literally have made $30,000 to $40,000 a year utilizing YouTube. What does this kid need with $30,000 to $40,000? He didn't. He just knew how to create these videos, and he was putting them up. And most importantly, he was consistent. Mm-hmm. He built a large subscribe. It got to the point where they were sending this 13-year-old kid was getting sent to conventions around the country for these YouTube videos that he was creating. So it's really just about discipline, really figuring out what your niche is and spending the time to stay consistent. I will add that some things you need to know about YouTube in terms of how they pay, right? Because they do pay, but there are things to know. They do have a threshold for payment, which basically means that you have to make at least $100 before they release your payment. And when they do release your payment, it takes about 45 days. Now they're going to tell you 30, but that's 30 days for them to release it. And then for some reason, it takes almost another 2 weeks before it shows up in your bank account. So that's important to know. Those little things, when you're trying to budget and take care of your businesses and your expenses and all of the, it's just as important to learn how these things pay out as it is to figure out how to get paid.
Yeah.
All right.
Sync licensing.
Yes. So with sync licensing, here's a list of some of the music licensing websites to help you earn passive income from TV, film, and video games. Sites like Rumblefish, BeatPick, ULicense, Scout Music, Centric Music, and TuneCore all help with sync licensing. It's also important to know that with sync licensing in particular, I've seen some luck with getting some placements, but I will tell you straight up, regardless to us listing these sites, most of this stuff is about relationships, right? So it's important to go to events, whether it's on or offline, where they're talking about sync licensing, right? There's something called SyncCon, which you can attend online, where you can hear from people who work in these industries and potentially rub elbows with some of them if you show up at these events. We're talking about post-COVID world. But again, a lot of these events are happening online, which you can make relationships with some of these people, or at least show up to places and hear them speak just so you can hear their story. But it's definitely important to build these relationships, because honestly, the vast majority of the placements that I've gotten over the years have come from relationships, meeting someone in the biz, maintaining that relationship, and just being ready when the call came. All right.
So moving on to, again, for visual artists, art licensing. So you want to work with an art licensor, basically to license your work to businesses. So for instance, if you want to get your artwork in, let's say, a hotel or a convention center, you can collect a royalty rate based on sales. They basically put up your artwork, and it is available for sale depending on, who might be interested. And so we'll work more on getting a listing of licensors to look at for consideration, but that's something. And going back to what Stan said before about developing relationships, is finding out who is the general manager to a hotel, for instance, in your area, or a residential community. If it's a new development, they need artwork for their public spaces. And so if that's something that you're interested in doing, that's something you definitely want to reach out to whoever the developer is in your community. So that's something to consider. Content producing.
Yes, so we mentioned it before about like selling fonts, textures, illustrations to sites like Creative Markets, right? So again, it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with stock images, but it's very specific things, like I mentioned, fonts, textures, illustrations. So definitely, if that sounds like things that you specialize in, you want to go ahead and check out Creative Markets because you can absolutely submit your stuff there.
Okay. And then as far as affiliate marketing, you can generate income by promoting products or services to third parties. Basically, you could provide, it's just another way of promoting your product, getting it out there to be seen by more people. And so that's something else that you may want to consider. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. So for example, so like with different products, if you basically are building relationships with other brands and they have a particular product that they want you to use and promote, right? So obviously there is some work involved, like most of these things, but sometimes what happens, like after you do the initial work, there's oftentimes residual income that will come from the thing. So doing the work once and then seeing a bit of money, and then sometimes they will ask you to do it multiple times. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of work out like the details of how that's going to work, what it's going to look like, how often you're going to be paid, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But oftentimes, for example, if they ask you to use the hair product, right? But then they want video footage of you utilizing the product or like photos and different things. You could technically do all of that in one shoot, mm-hmm. and then give them everything they need, right? And then from that point on, like sometimes it's a flat rate, or maybe you negotiate a monthly rate, and then you're just, you just got to make sure you meet the need. But it doesn't necessarily require you getting up every day to do it. It can be done a lot of times if they outline everything in one shot. Or
you could do, like Stan mentioned, you could do everything, but you give them into it in piecemeal. You don't have to give them everything. And that, again, each thing could be another price point that you charge.
Absolutely.
So that's something to consider. Again, everything that we're sharing with you all, this is not fast money. This is for the long haul. And so, but it's definitely a way to diversify. This is to supplement what you're already making or what you hope to, or, like Stan mentioned, like you can start with something and then continue, grow and develop that into making it your main thing, as Absolutely. We've seen with countless YouTubers.
Right. And so lastly, selling galleries. Although the gallery takes a great portion of the sale, this is still a good way to earn passive income, because at the end of the day, you give them the work and then you just kind of step away, and then hopefully you get the call, you get an email, you get contacted to say, hey, we saw some luck with selling this particular piece. But again, you do the work, and then after you've done the work, you step away. Yeah. But while selling in a gallery is great, licensing your work or sharing, or the one we mentioned before, having your work being rented out to be in a particular space, you might be trying to sell that one piece for $1,000, or maybe a couple $1,000, or maybe a few hundred, right? But you might be able to negotiate a rate with a place where, let's say you got a piece that you were only selling for $400, right? Or maybe you were selling it for $1,000. Mm-hmm. If a place rents it out for $50 a month for 12 months, that's $600 right there. Right. And they're just renting it. Right. Right. And so now let's say after that, you end up selling the piece. So now this piece you were only trying to sell for $1,000, you've technically made $1,600 from. So it's just,
something to think about.
Yeah. Just other ways to do it. So look, as we mentioned, we have one more. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to put it out there to you guys before we go to the next slide. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, because otherwise we a lot of times we just go. We do this so much, we fly through it sometimes, and other times we get kind of stuck.
And we'll be taking breaks right after this to see if anybody has any questions. As far as additional tips to consider, you want to consider if you have any unused artwork that you've completely forgot about, or it's in the back room somewhere, or existing designs you can repurpose and sell online. Absolutely consider doing that. You can diversify your revenue stream for as Stan mentioned this before, for every great idea, think of 7 ways on how to monetize it. Apply for grants. If you are an individual artist or you have your own nonprofit organization, definitely consider applying for a grant. If you, as far as individual artists, there are opportunities out there based on merit. Some of them are project based. Definitely, you don't want to have to go completely out of your way. If it's something that they're asking for and you don't do, then obviously you don't waste your time. But if it's something that you already have or you're already doing, I highly recommend considering applying for a grant or entering competitions as well. And then the beautiful thing about grants is, of course, it's I say free money, but it really is. I mean, you're still putting in work, but it's money that doesn't have to be paid back. And so this is money for you to use. And a lot of times with merit-based funding, you can use it to develop your work, go on vacation, reinvest it into your, for art supplies, whatever. And so you do have some flexibility there. And then last but not least, definitely you want to protect your work, especially in this digital age where you have people, you upload it because you want to share, but then people, as people do, will copy it and put it on their board or their post or claim it as their own. So you definitely want to make sure we hide it, if you're going to post, to utilize a watermark, which is basically your logo, your name, somewhere on the artwork, so that it protects your work from copyright.
Yeah, and a quick cheat code for those of you who create a lot of content, because sometimes it can get ridiculously expensive to copyright every piece of work that you create if you're a person who's creating multiple things in a week or in a month. Right. And some people have that extra income to be able to take care of those fees no problem, while others don't. So a suggestion I have for folks is to actually, when you go to copyright your material, whether it's music, whether it's things you've written or art, you can also do what's called, I think it's called like a catalog, as opposed to just an individual work. So for example, like I might take all of the work that I created in one particular year and say 2021 songs or 2020 songs. And every song, every instrumental, everything I've created in that year is cataloged in that one copyright. So as opposed to paying, like around $50 for each individual ones, I pay a little bit more and I copyright everything in one fell swoop. So something to think about. It can, again, sometimes it's about passive income, right? Sometimes it's about where I can save a few dollars, right? To stretch your money a bit further. All right.
So our next section is going over navigating social media. But we're going to pause and look to the chat to see if anyone has any questions regarding passive income. Questions or comments? We'll take that time now to go over that before we move on to navigating social media.
And we'll let you see our faces again. Hey. All right. So any questions?
I've been keeping an eye out, and I have not seen any questions come through.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's okay. Do you know much about NFTs?
I knew that was going to come up.
Just curious. It's something I've been hearing a lot about lately, and I'm curious if you have done any research or know much about that.
Sure. So I've spent a lot of time meeting with different folks and having a lot of different conversations about how to move forward. I know that with NFTs, it does require an upfront investment of I believe $100 to even get started. I do have a list of the sites. I would have to dig them up really quick before we go. But I will share some of the sites that you can utilize to create them. Is it a way to earn money? Absolutely. I've seen people who really, it's debatable how good of an artist they are, right? Make a lot of money. And then I've seen some amazing artists make a lot of money and some people not make any. But it definitely, it's a viable way to do it. But this is what I advised a client recently, right? Sometimes if you're not sure if you should make the leap or take the leap to go this particular route, what I do is I gauge my audience, right? My audience happens to be very vocal and they communicate with me daily about the works I've created and about what, talking to me about the future. Like, what do I got planned for the future? And so if they're not really bringing it up to me, I don't sometimes kind of worry about it too much. However, I have a lot of creatives in my circle who are constantly talking about it and constantly suggesting, hey, you should do this. And one guy in particular, shout out to our friend Naturel. He was one of the first people I had the conversation with. The moment he started doing NFTs, the day he announced it, they were sold. But again, this is someone in this particular world where he already has, he already has several contacts, people who could put him in front of the people he needed to be in front of, and his audience made it very clear they were interested in what he would do in that space. Right. So, so I say gauge the audience. And if you feel like you really want to do it, but your audience isn't communicating with you to let you know that, hey, we would love to see you do it, ask, right? I'm like, hey, I'm considering doing this. I've been really doing my research, and I think this is a path maybe that I should consider taking. What do you all think? Is this something you would be interested? Right. Would you buy this? And so if they let you know, well, hey, go ahead and, get on the bandwagon and see what you can make happen. But, it just requires research. I would just say, spend the time. There are some concerns with different aspects of it, where people are like debating on how good this is for the planet because of the amount of power it requires. In terms of creating NFTs and the different coding that goes into it. So there's a lot of things that's still up in the air in terms of how good this is long term, right, for us. So, do your research. That's all I can really say. That's more of a dollar than 2 cents, but yes.
And we have a question.
Yep.
Teaching online.
Sure. So, so definitely, teaching online versus teaching in person. I mean, so
we've done both.
Yeah, we've done. Yes. Yeah. So like there's several classes that I've been teaching online throughout the pandemic. And quite frankly, I'm really in some cases considering just continuing the online process versus in person, just because, again, sometimes it's not always finding more money to make. Sometimes it's just figuring out where I can reduce some of my costs. And so, one of the schools that I've been working with is a good 45-minute drive away from where we reside. And so the amount of gas and resources that it takes for me constantly to get out there when I'm teaching these particular classes, especially when they want me to teach more classes, it can get a bit costly. So the moment they went online, yes, it made things a lot easier and was very cost effective.
And it really depends on what subject you're teaching. So if you are, particularly for visual arts, if it's not computer related, if it's not computer graphics or graphic design, if it's something that you really like, you're dealing with paint or clay or fabric or something like, and then depending on your personality, if you're a type of person that feeds off of energy of, having physically be in the presence of other people and for you to be successful, then definitely continue doing in person. But if you're doing something that is web or digital based, and the challenge with that is you have to constantly, you want to engage, and you have to think about your target audience as well. If you're working with young people, as we saw with, with our daughter, none of the kids were on camera. No one wanted to show themselves. And so the teacher is essentially looking at a blank plate. And so we are just, it's tough. It really depends on there's plus and minuses with both.
Sure. One of the major advantages of being able to teach online, though, in terms of how it can turn into passive income, is the fact that it's easier to document, right? You don't necessarily have to worry about setting up your a camera in the room that you're not going to be able to monitor because you're teaching and doing all of these different things, like how good the sound is and all of that. Yes, these are things that you worry about, of course, when you're teaching online. However, they're a lot easier to control when you're using Zoom or StreamYard or whatever technology that you're using, versus trying to actually physically be present, engage everyone in the same space you're in, and also monitor that if you don't have the budget to hire someone else to monitor it for you. Yeah. So, but definitely, there's a lot that can be done with teaching online in terms of how you can use it to make money long term to support your business. All right. And so if there aren't any other questions, we'll keep it moving.
Yep. Going into social media.
All right. Go Gadget. All right. So here is a list of social media sites. There are some that aren't on here, and there are probably maybe one or two that you do not recognize. So do us a favor, and in the chat, if there's one you're not familiar with, throw it in the chat. And there may be some that you see that you're like, well, is that social media really? What's great about a lot of the things online, that there are often things that aren't necessarily social media, but people utilize it like it's social media. And a lot of times it forces the company to change how they use their site. So let's see, the chat is flying. We got movement. All right, so Behance, okay. Medium, Bandcamp, Medium, Discord, Bandcamp, awesome, high five. Thank you for sharing. So Behance. Behance is basically a portfolio site. It's actually through Adobe, where you can create your own online portfolio to display your work. The reason why we list it as social media, because it gives you the ability to like people's work. Yep. It gives you the ability to follow people. You can message them. You can also comment on their work. In some cases, you can actually purchase and sell things. So there are a lot of the same features that exist on Facebook and all of these other sites absolutely exist on Behance. And sometimes you can make, be contacted by potential customers and different things utilizing that site.
As well as notified, like artists that you follow, like primarily visual artists utilize it. So when an artist uploads a video for the first time, you can, if notifications are on, you could be notified when that artist has uploaded a new image to their portfolio. Absolutely.
Medium is a site that is popular for like writers, journalists, and different people like that. I see a lot of folks who aren't necessarily maybe they're not getting the opportunity to write for a major outlet at a particular time, but they are real passionate about a particular topic. And so they utilize Medium as a place to upload those works.
As well as an op-ed, if you want to utilize it to release an opinion on certain things, whether it's political or something general, you can utilize it as well.
Yes. And so Bandcamp is another one where, again, it started out as just a site for music where people could go there to listen, download, and support artists directly. But one of the great things that they've done is they've made Bandcamp a bit more interactive. You can now not just purchase a release, you can also like it. You can share it on a wide variety of platforms. They also allow people to create their own pages. The great thing is, you can create your own page, but your page is only populated with the projects that you've actually supported, right? So if it's a free download, you have to actually go through the steps, download it, and then it becomes automatically visible on your page. Or when you purchase something, it goes to your page. So it basically is like if you had an online record collection and you got to display it. And so other people can follow you, they can see all of your recommendations. It allows you to, when you purchase an album, you can decide which song is your favorite, and you can even write reviews, but only people who support the actual musicians by purchasing the record are allowed to do those things. So again, it's not social media in the traditional sense, but they've changed the way the site has been used over the years to make it more social media friendly and create more interaction between the different users. And lastly is Discord. Now, if you're not a gamer, right, you probably have never heard of Discord. Discord is more of a message board than traditional social media. but it comes up in conversation all the time. Like, for example, if you're on Patreon, Patreon oftentimes allows you to connect a Discord board to your Patreon channel. So that way you can create like a private message board for all of the people who want to interact with each other on Discord, right? But there are different pockets of Discord that are dedicated to different people who are in the gaming. But it's become so popular now that they have Discord boards that are dedicated. Well, think about it like this. Here's an easier way to say it. It's a cooler version, or some would say it's a cooler version of Reddit, right? So if you're familiar with Reddit, then Discord is very similar to Reddit, but probably a lot more easy to use. And it also helps to boost presence on sites like Spotify, because a lot of the users are able to connect their Spotify accounts. So you can constantly see what the different people are listening to who you communicate with. All right. So thank you for telling us which ones you didn't recognize. And on that note, let's keep it moving.
So basically what we're going to talk about next is basically who should be posting. Basically anyone.
Everybody.
Everybody. But particularly those, if you have a product or service and you want to promote it or sell it, then you should be posting. You want to utilize social media as a marketing tool that can help you basically grow your business, grow your brand, provide, of course, revenue, right? You want to increase your revenue and gain more money. The more outlets, obviously, that you utilize, it basically extends the spread of the messages that go out to the people. Now, that does not mean that you have to go on Discord and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You don't have to do everything. We're
definitely saying don't sign up for everything.
Don't sign up for everything. You really don't. It really depends on who you are. We'll talk about it, depending on which medium you utilize, will determine which social media you should be using. Part of the allure, of course, obviously with social media is like Twitter and Instagram, it's the interaction, is the engagement that you get with the general public. By utilizing, social media, you get to find out what your audience, your target audience, what they're buying, what they like, what they don't like, what are they doing on the weekends, because you get to be a voyeur, right? What kind of posts do they love to share, and from what website. So basically, you get to learn a little bit more about your customer. Now, this is where you really have to figure out ahead of time who your target market is. For instance, if you are a teacher, if you want to teach art, and your primary audience are elementary or K-12 students, then that's your target audience. Now, obviously, they don't pay the bills, so you're also targeting parents, families, guardians, teachers, principals. So that's what you have to look at it. If you are providing a service to military, working with organizations like that. If you are dealing with folks that are, 65 and over, then obviously some of them, yes, they are on social media. Are they on all the platforms? They might be on Facebook. If you're looking at younger people, 18 to 25, they may not be on Facebook. They're probably on Instagram. So these are the things that you want to consider and think about. Social media can also be used for audience engagement, to keep your audience informed of what you're doing. You want to be able to attract potential audience members, clients, increase your chances of being featured by other websites or by other, influencers. Exactly. Generate income as a tool to connect with complementary and non-competing businesses. You get to network. So it's a great tool. However, you also want to, set boundaries as well. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
All right. So, and let's talk about what you should post, right? So relevant content related to your interests. Try to balance professional posts with occasional personal content to sustain engagement. And when we say personal, it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I had a horrible day today. Such and such was talking to my cousin about this, and I can't believe they did that. That's too much. We're not saying do that, but when we say personal, for example, let's say you have a studio that you work out of, right? And if you're a person that's okay with sharing pictures of your family and your family just happened to be in your studio in that day, it's still in that professional setting, but it's reminding folks that, hey, I'm a human being, right? Yeah. Like I have kids, and when I'm not playing with my kids and I'm doing this, is taking time away from their family. So it's always great to have them in the space. So, there's different ways to kind of showcase like the other side of you. But so here are some examples as well of different things that we've posted. Like the personal shot is of us. Our daughter took that when we were hanging out at the park, just kind of taking a break from the business. I tell her all the time that although, yes, we are a business and we could be posting a lot of different things, people like to see us, right? Because we're not just business partners, we're actually husband and wife, right? And so we recognize that we inspire folks in a lot of different ways, and partly through our actual relationship, not just our business. So we try to balance that out. And whenever we can actually kill two birds with one stone, where it's a picture of us and it's also press. Like the next image, we were featured on BET's website, Black Entertainment Television, and they had a great photo of us on the site. So we're like, oh, look, this is press and it's also us. Right. So, and these are examples too that like typically if a thing that you post does close to or above 10% of your followers actually liking it and interacting with it, that's great. That does not happen for most people frequently, right? But if you're able to keep that level of engagement up, with your posting, you're doing great things. And so every one of these posts that we're showing you are examples of the things that, based on the number of followers we have, roughly about 10% of our audience engaged with it. So next up is a product, right? We recently announced that we have a children's book that's for sale, and it's been doing extremely well. And it's actually based on a song that I wrote called In My Daughter's Eyes, where I talk about our two young daughters. And Rochelle happened to also, it was her idea to do the book. She edited the book, and then we hired an illustrator who's an associate of ours to actually handle the illustration, although we're both visual artists too. And when we shared the news, we knew people would be excited to see it, but it surpassed our expectations. But this is another example of product. And then the last one is video content. We were featured on local news because we throw an annual Kwanzaa event. In the first year that we did, Fox News actually came out. This is Fox local news, just to be clear. I don't know how people feel about that stuff. You know what I mean? So I got to be careful.
We have to give a disclaimer.
Right. But anyway, Fox local news came by to interview us, to talk about Kwanzaa and to talk about our event. And so these are just some of the different examples. Other examples include, obviously, photos, video. Quotes are always good as well. They're a great way to get your audience motivated or reflecting. Press, as we mentioned before, reviews, interviews, and articles pertaining to your industry / trade. So maybe it's not about you. It doesn't always have to be about you. If it's about what you like, if it's about your profession, your line of work, your expertise, and you found it engaging and interesting, share it, right? Piece of advice: this crabs in the barrel mentality, it definitely is crippling for so many creatives, so many communities. Like, we sometimes find out great information. We find out about competitions, grant opportunities, and other things, and we don't share it because we want it for ourselves, and we're scared that if other people find out, it's going to decrease our chances. It's going to get in the way of our blessings. What's for you is for you, right? What's meant for you is for you. But if it's information that the community can benefit from, then you absolutely should be sharing that info.
And that's why we do these workshops, and why we do what we do, is because we notice with a lot of artists, there aren't a lot of resources and supports for them. They'll be for organizations because, they have the bag, they have more resources, they have more money. Mm-hmm. But for the individual artists, this whole concept of starving artists doesn't have to be. And so that's why we do what we do, and we make sure we share that information with the public.
Absolutely.
So this is where the next slide, this is where we have a little bit of fun. So I want you all to take out your cell phones. And if you're team Android like me.
No, your team iPhone. See, she was trying to throw shade at me, right? Because I am team Android. But see how it didn't work? See, God doesn't like ugly. See?
If you are iPhone, team iPhone, please put your iPhones up. You could take your iPhones out. And if you're Android,
and if you're using your phone to watch this now, we're sorry. You can't play the game.
You can play after. But it's basically what we want to do is we want to show you guys how to navigate, where to find your analytics, where to find out about your audience, your followers and stuff like that. So we wanted to show you guys that.
Gotcha. So yes. So let's stop sharing the screen for a second. All right. So for those of you who are not using your phone to do it, if you have Instagram, right, for your business, what you can do, if you are team Android like me, let the hater say, in your top right-hand corner, there will be 3 lines. All right. And I know it's not going to show up well on the screen, but we'll try to put it up there. No, too bright. There it is. And adjust. Yep. So you'll see in the top corner, there are 3 lines. You click on those 3 lines, and that will show you this drop-down menu here. It is adjusting. Wait for it. Boom, there it is. And there's something that says Insights. All right. So you want to make sure that you take a look at that. Now it's similar. It is similar on the iPhone, right? So you look for the 3 lines, you click on that, the menu comes out, and you're going to click on Insights. Now, when you look at your Insights overview, what you'll see is it'll show you the amount of accounts reached, the content interaction, basically your total followers and how much it's gone up over the last 7 days. And you can change it at the top under Insights. You can change it from 7 days to 30 days if you like. And then it also shows you that the type of content that you've showed over the last few days, that you've shared, whether it is a post, a story, a reel, or IGTV. All right. And it also allows you to create promotions. All right. And then another section that pops up there, you can also check your activity. So if you're a person that's concerned with how often or how much time you're spending on your phone. So right now I'm looking at my time on Instagram, and it says that I spend 2 hours and 26 minutes on average. That's my daily average over the last week. And it's because of the fact that, besides being on there for personal reasons, I also manage 5 different IG accounts. So it's kind of hard not to spend that much time on it. But it's a good way for you to just kind of get more familiar with your numbers. Understanding this data is very key. But what we will show you, you can put your phones away for a second. We're going to show you something a bit better than that tool. And that is called Facebook Creator Studio.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen for you, and then I'm going to share the screen, and you're going to be all in our business just for a moment. And that is okay.
And if you are, if you're iPhone, Instagram recently did an update, so it does look very similar to Android. You can, if your page is already set up as a company, you don't even have to, you could either select the 3 lines as Stan mentioned, or just go view dashboard or the home. And then there's also Insight there's a button called Insights, which will get you to the same thing. And it's basically good information to constantly, to check it, whether it's daily or weekly, just to see how your posts are performing.
Yeah. And it'll also show you how well your posts are doing on particular days of the week and certain times a day. So that way, what time of day and what days that you definitely should be posting on.
Right.
All right. So really quick, we're just going to show you what Facebook Creator Studio looks like. So again, if you want to look it up online, it's business.facebook.com/creator studio. All right. And so right now you're looking at Facebook, and you can see like the different 8 accounts that are managed for Facebook. And then I can switch it over here to Instagram, and it shows you 4 profiles. There's one that I'm not logged into for whatever reason. And what I can do is if I go over to Insights, I click there, and then I can switch what account I want to look at, whether it's our business, right? You see how many posts we did, and it shows us basically the different activity, how many times our website was visited, you know, how many times the profile was visited. And the great thing is you can switch between accounts. Mm-hmm. So I do the same thing over here. Again, it shows different website activity, profile visits, number of accounts reached, so on and so forth, how many impressions you get.
And so the reason why we highly recommend utilizing Facebook Creator is because we're all about protecting your time, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times a lot of us get discouraged about, oh my God, I have to post, and you're doing it on your phone. Whereas here on your desktop or iPad, you can do that from your desktop, your iPad, or your laptop.
And what she's referring to is Instagram, because most of us only post to Instagram through our phone, but a Facebook Creator Studio allows you to do posts from right from your desktop. So we're on a laptop right now. I can go to Instagram feed, or I can do IGTV. And the best part is I can actually schedule all my posts. So as opposed to you having to download another app, right? This, you can go right on your browser and handle all of the business that you need to handle. Pardon me. I know it's a struggle. But yeah, you can go ahead and schedule all your posts for the following week if you need to, and plan all of that out ahead of time. And the great thing about it, when you do it here, so if I'm just doing a quick example, as I type stuff up, it shows you down here at the bottom how many characters I have left. Right. So it gives you a character count for those of you who write short books when you post. And then it also shows you how many mentions you get, you know, when you go to connect a particular person. Right. And how many hashtags you can use. You can add location. You can create carousels. You can also simultaneously post to Facebook and more.
But that schedule feature is
a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's priceless. Like what we highly recommend to our clients is that, you know, especially if you're a person that has families or you have multiple jobs, pick a day out of the week where you're going to focus on promoting your business, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Friday night, whatever. And then plan out the next week ahead of time. Do everything that you need to do. Schedule it, and then you're done. You can walk away from it and finish business that you have doing whatever else.
Yep. And if you're a person who works with other people who have social media, just make sure everyone that is in that circle has notifications turned on. So that way, as quick as you do the post, everyone can try to like it within that first 10 minutes. 30 minutes tops. I mean, try to like it as quick as possible. The reason why is because they send it to your most engaged followers first. It becomes visible to those people first. And based on how they interact with it, whether they skip past it or they like it or comment, it will determine how much more of your network gets to actually see that particular thing you posted right away. Right. That's why sometimes people discover your stuff like a week after you posted it. So, you know, don't just assume that because you posted something online that everyone saw it. The algorithm is not our friend most days. So just keep that in mind. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into social media tools.
Yes. So we've basically listed things that are for both Facebook and for Instagram. So for Facebook, you want to post at optimum times based on your global activity. There's a resource that shows like how it is in general, but you want to look at based on your analytics. You want to share more video content. Those tend to be very engaging with people. They get to see live action. And so those are the ones that technically do well. Drive discussions with your posts. Pose a question, survey your audience, ask them, questions that engages them to basically engage in the chat or to write a message. Encourage your team, if you have a team or collaborators or employees, to share your content. Just like Stan had mentioned, gather up your folks, your family, your friends who are also on Instagram or Facebook rather. And, as soon as something goes live or is posted, make sure that they like it to help with the algorithm. Photos, almost anything over links.
And the reason for that is because basically you don't want to post links on Facebook too frequently, because basically Facebook, their job is to keep you on Facebook. right? So when you post a link that is not related to something on Facebook or is not a Facebook link,
they don't like that.
They don't like that. So it's not going to be, the algorithm is going to bury it, and it's not going to be very visible. It doesn't matter if you have 5,000 friends or you have a page that has over 100,000 followers. If you post a link, it's very likely that the engagement is going to be very low on it.
Right.
So, so photos, video content is always better than just posting a link.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And then this one is very important. Each post should be unique. You do not want to, if you have a flyer, like you're promoting an upcoming event, you don't want to post the same flyer multiple times, because after a while people are like, oh, I saw that already. And then they bypass it. What you do is show something that's related to that event, whether it's something that you've done already or you've been physically in the space. If you have images that can be associated, don't let that be the leading image. Let do a photo first, and then the flyer could be the second image, but don't let the flyer continuously be the same thing that you post over and over again.
For Instagram, some of the strategies are similar, but one of the things, right, because Instagram is photo based, try to take your time and pick like the best looking photos, right? And you can find like tutorials online that just talk about like, what makes photography, what makes a particular, like understanding depth of field and all of these different things that make for great images. And you really don't have an excuse nowadays, right? She was talking about iPhone earlier. Part of the reason why I'm an Android guy is because Samsungs in particular have some of the best camera phones.
He's right.
Out there. So if you're a person that's taking horrible pictures and you got one of these amazing camera phones, shame on you, right? But most importantly, take multiple photos of the things you're trying to capture and really take time to pick the best images. Because, again, branding is important, right? And you're trying to build up your brand and you want people to associate quality with your brand. Share more video content. Also, share to your stories frequently. This one thing we need to add is, the Reels feature that they have now, where these vertical videos perform better on these social media apps than horizontal videos. So keep that in mind. And also try to go live often, right? Like if you're a person who has a very engaged base, try to go live at least once a week. Especially, in this time where people have been quarantined, live videos, particularly on Instagram, which we've seen with like Versus and all of these different things, have become as good as TV for a lot of people, to the point that they're taking live streams that are happening on Instagram and people are rebroadcasting them on YouTube because that many people are watching. So definitely keep that in mind and write stronger captions. If you're going to make it wordy, like really, put some thought into it, write something that's going to be engaging, put questions in there, like things that are going to create interaction, maybe inspire, motivate people, but just make sure it's engaging. And always use hashtags, because people are able to follow hashtags the same way they're able to follow accounts. And so there are people who are waiting for certain hashtags to pop up on their timeline. All right.
All right. So analytics and insights, and we talked about it briefly earlier. So analytics is the discovery, interpretation, communication of meaningful patterns in data and the process of applying those patterns towards effective decision making. Basically, analytics can be used as a connective tissue between data and effective decision making within your organization. And so basically, whether it can help you determine who your target market is, who your audience is, basically on male, female, where they live, their demographics, their geography, all those things, and how you can utilize that to better engage your audience. What are insights? So insights are for the purpose of marketing are the result of applying human thought and reasoning to analyze data, searching for and producing a directional change in the way we think or the way we act. And we see this all the time. How many of us, you'll do a search for a product or service, you don't buy the product, but you keep seeing it pop up on your searches. It's like follows you on Instagram, follows you on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what it's become. They see what your interests are. The companies pay for a lot of money for this, and they trying to engage with you, and they see it as a way of helping you, but that remains to be
debatable.
It's debatable,
right? So definitely, regardless of what your preferred social media platform is, or calls this information, because sometimes one site it might just say analytics, other sites it'll say insights, some say both.
Yeah.
But you should definitely get in the habit of studying it frequently. This will enable you to make more strategic and effective content and smarter decisions on what, when, and where to share. So that way you don't feel like you're wasting your time, because a lot of times I see people get discouraged because they're not seeing the engagement that they feel like they should get in order to sustain their business. So definitely, use this to help you make more informed decisions. All right. This is just a short list of some tools that can help you with social media. Adobe Spark is a great free app that allows you to create graphics. If you're a person who does use the Adobe Creator Suite and you pay for that, then you get the professional version of Adobe Spark, which gives you access to a bunch of templates. And this makes it a lot easier for you to maintain the quality of like some of the designs and branding that you're putting out there. They have great features that will allow you to select what your different, you can create like a palette that has your different company colors in it, pre-upload we'll have all of your logos pre-uploaded, so it's just ready to pull whenever you need it. And you can create a real style and look for your graphics that you're posting. And it's not just limited to just still graphics. You can also create motion graphics and video presentations as well using Adobe Spark.
Right, you could customize it, but you can also, it's a great tool. They have templates as well, so you can remix a template. It's a great tool. We use it, if you want to promote, with a flyer, if you want to create flyers or banners or anything like that, it's great. And they already have presets of for Instagram, for Facebook, for film and video.
All the templates that you need.
So it's great.
Sure. The next one is Bitly. Bitly basically allows you to shorten links and also not just shorten them, but be able to customize them with a particular name and stuff. So if you have an event, and a lot of us know that these event links tend to be way longer than the average link to just the website. So using a site like that to be able to shorten your links and just kind of reference it and look at the analytics for how well that link is performing. It's a great tool. It's also free.
Yes. Our favorite.
Yes. Free 99. All right. And next up is Canva. Canva is another tool that a lot of people are using to be able to create some of the graphics like what we were talking about with Adobe Spark. It's also great for being able to manage your social media as well. Next up is the one we showed you before, Facebook Creator Studio. It is also free. It allows you to manage both Facebook and Instagram. And again, one of the key things about what it allows you to do with Instagram is to be able to schedule posts for Instagram from your web browser. And they also have an app version as well. Hootsuite is kind of like the OG that has been around a lot longer than some of these other tools for scheduling and managing your social media. This next one is Ift. Ift was a lot better when it first came about than it is now. And by better, I mean that it was free. And now it is still free, but they limit like how many recipes you can create. So what is a recipe? So basically what Ift stands for is if this, then that. Right. And basically what it allows you to do is you can say that if I create a new thing on Facebook, then tweet to that, right? Or do this, right? And so you can do that across different platforms. You can even program it to control smart devices in your home. You can also use it to schedule tweets and other posts. It does a lot of great things. It's definitely worth checking it out. And if you do have the budget to be able to pay to get access to more of the features, it's not a bad tool to use at all. I've been using it for years now. Smarturl.it is another great site. It's basically allows you to create So for example, if you're a musician, a lot of times musicians struggle with where to send people to listen to their music. So what they do is they'll do a post at one time a day saying, hey, stream my song on Spotify. And then they'll post again later, hey, stream my song on Bandcamp or Apple Music or Tidal. Smart URL allows you to do all of that in one place. And so quick example, just punch one in. And I literally got it where I can brand it, got my logo there. My video is automated. It just starts the moment you get there. Got my website links, and then they can choose. They see the album art there, and then all of the different locations where the song is available. And if you're a person that doesn't want to see this every time, you can just click always send me to this retailer, and it makes it so that anytime you click on a smart URL link going forward, if you click on Deezer one time, then you never have to click Deezer again if they have that set up as an option. All right. And lastly is TweetDeck. I like to refer to TweetDeck kind of as like headquarters. What it is a free thing that Twitter has created that allows you to manage multiple Twitter accounts. It allows you to see different feeds. Quick example, I'm not going to show you how to use it. I'm going to just show you what it looks like. But we go here and it will load up, and then it shows you everything, right? So here's my timeline of the people I follow, my notifications, my tweets here, my messages for like every one of the accounts that I manage, and then like other accounts that I follow, right? And most importantly, I can search certain terms, and anyone who tweets about these particular things, the tweets will automatically pop up here. So it's a little creepy. A little creepy, but if you're a person that manages social media, it's good to be able to track that type of information. All right, let's keep it moving.
All right. So next we have social media promotion checklist. So this is your checklist for you to utilize as a reference. You want to register your domain. Remember, social media is great, but it's not as good as
a website,
your own personal website. And we always mention what was the OG before Facebook that's no longer with us?
MySpace.
Yeah. So for those of you that remember MySpace, know that MySpace is not really a thing. And so,
anymore, right?
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you always have your personal website to fall back on. Create profiles on relevant social media networks. Make sure you have a short bio already ready, so that in case that, when you're introducing yourself, if you haven't done so already, you can provide, people with a gist of who you are, what you're about, what services or products that you offer. Get familiar with social media analytics, as we mentioned before. Create a social media calendar. It's just a great tool just so they keep you on schedule. If you need something like that, where you could plan out your day. You
can contact us and we'll link you to one that we utilize for some of our customers. But it's really simple as just a Google search. If you just Google search social media calendar, free download, there are plenty available.
And it's a great resource because it provides you with a list of popular, hashtag holidays and so on and so forth. So it's a great tool to utilize. Promote posts that are organically performing well. So if you have a post that it's getting momentum and people are really engaging with it, then if you want to promote it by paying a nominal fee, then do those. If it's a post that you're getting maybe 10, 20.
What she's saying likes, is, if it's not doing well, don't promote it.
Don't promote it because it's going to be a waste.
Yes, it's going to be a waste of your time and money.
Finish outstanding task, and this is where you want to stay on schedule, hence the calendar. But yeah, we just want to make sure that you stay, especially if you're utilizing Facebook Creator Studio, it'll allow you to, be schedule and to plan. And so we highly recommend doing that. Respond to inbound social media, social messages only when required. Like you will get a lot of people that will sneak into your DM and try to promote, or, you don't have to engage with everything that happens online.
But even if you do get a lot of that stuff that's not necessarily focused on your business, you still want to be active in your messages, because of the fact that occasionally you get real opportunities that come through there. And so getting in the habit of dedicating a certain amount of time to going through that stuff, just to kind of really go through to see if there's anything in there that deserves your attention.
Yeah. You want to do the next one, the monitor?
Sure. So monitor and respond to untagged brand mentions. So when I was showing you TweetDeck a second ago, for example, some of what I was searching was where it says substantial, now playing. Those are radio stations around the world or individual listeners who are basically talking about my music, right? And so I follow that particular phrase, so that way, if it pops up, bare minimum, I can see it. And then next I can like it. If they're saying something good, I can like it. And that sometimes a good amount of these people are folks who do not follow me. So when I do that, it does what? It creates an opportunity for those people to discover me on that platform. 9 times out of 10, they follow. And now you're organically building your followers. And it sounds like a lot, but it's really, you set that thing up one time and then the information just pops up daily and you just give it a quick look. Oh, no new activity. Great. New activity pops up.
Right. And then you can do that on Instagram as well. You can follow certain hashtags. So for instance, if you want to follow artists, or if you have something like a common name, whether it's your business or something that you utilize often, you can follow that. And then every time someone utilizes it, you can engage with that person to either gain a follower or you follow them. Yeah,
maybe it's a hashtag that you created specifically for your business. So that way you make sure that after you've created that, you follow it on those platforms. And you'll see it in your timeline along with everything else.
Which pretty much answers the next one, which is seek and engage potential customers. And that's one of the easiest ways to do that, to gain new followers.
All right.
And so that's pretty much it for social media. We do have some other things for you all, but we definitely want to reserve time and space for questions. So just to let you know what is included, and again, we provided this link so that you can download this presentation, but we've just included tools and opportunities for visual artists. We have tools and opportunities for performing artists. We also have opportunities for writers and multimedia artists, just basically, tricks of the trade and little things that we think that is very beneficial. So if you have any other questions beyond that, or even after we're done, definitely feel free to contact us. And our contact information is also included here. And we'll also add the exit survey as well, so that you can let us know how you enjoyed and what you learned. But now let's go to questions.
Yep. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And we'll try to answer as many as we can before time runs out.
Yeah. And let's put the exit survey up again so that folks have it. But again, thank you guys so much. I know it's a lot of information. I hope we didn't completely overwhelm you with all the information that we shared, but we just wanted to make sure we gave you a comprehensive list of things that will help you in developing your brand and navigating social media, as well as giving you some new ideas as far as, creating passive income for yourself.
All right. Laura, you're very welcome. And you're welcome as well, Winter. All right. And for anybody who is watching right now, if it's easier for you to turn your mic on and ask the question, that's okay as well. Because I've been in a few of these and I've seen people attending meetings and they were driving. So don't hurt yourself or anyone else, but
right.
We understand.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Just to get the ball rolling. How do you all combat creativity blocks? So for me, I'm a creative person, but I also have a full-time job. And I'm grateful that I have a job in the arts because I can be creative at work. But it does kind of feel like sometimes my creativity can be stifled because I just don't feel like I have the time that I want to dedicate to whatever the creative endeavor is.
Yeah.
So how do you all combat that?
Woo, let me tell you, I know for us, being a parents of two girls, we have a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old. Thank God for daycare. What we do is you really have to schedule, and we're not perfect. We're not perfect at it. We're still a work in progress with this. But one thing that we do, if you look at our calendar is crazy, but we make sure all right, work related is this time. Free time is this. and you just have to, and then you stick with it. Like I attended a workshop where this creative, she said that the first thing that she does is she does her personal projects first.
Mm-hmm.
That way she makes her stuff a priority first and then everybody else after. Now, granted, if you have a full-time job, it's very difficult to do that depending on your schedule, but then you put it in the schedule. So if you work, let's say a 9 to 5, then maybe you either do it before, first thing in the morning, or you do it, right after, and you designate, okay, this 2-hour block or 3-hour block or whatever block, maybe start with an hour first and then work your way up, and it's uninterrupted, like it's locked in. And, and put it as a reminder on your calendar. So like, for instance, workout, I see it every day telling me, oh, it's time to work out, so stuff like that, like making sure that it's there in your face. Even if you don't do it, at least it's there and it's consistent. With Google Calendar, it's great because you can make it, repeat. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. And I see another question from Cammie. It says, I'm a digital artist trying to build an audience and post art on IG with lots of tags, but the algorithm never seems to be my friend. How do I find the go-to hashtags to build really to really build your audience? Great question. So one of the things that you can actually see basically, when you are plugging in these hashtags, it'll show you how many people or how many times that hashtag was used, right? So if you're seeing hashtags that don't really have more than more than 1,000, like when you start to type it in and it shows the number next to it, and it's not even 1,000 or not even 5,000 times it's been used, just know that means that people aren't actively using it, and that also means that people aren't actively looking at it, right? So you want to use ones that are a bit higher. Now also understand that if you see one that is being used and it's in the millions, like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people are using it, it also means that you can use it and it's popular and people are looking at it and using it, but that also means that you might get, a bit lost in the mix. It doesn't necessarily mean not to use it. Just understand that there's a lot of competition out there using the same thing. Right. So I try to keep it balanced. I try to use hashtags unless it is something very specific to my brand, right? Like if I'm trying to bring attention to the thing, then I make sure it has at least a couple thousand of times it's been used, up to around the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. So,
and depending on the artwork, right? So one of the things that we always do is everything that we post, we make sure we do hashtag our company name, right? Mm-hmm. Then the medium that you're utilizing. Also, you can use hashtags for, what the subject matter is, starting with that and then growing from there. But it doesn't have to be like a dozen.
Yeah, hashtags. And also look at some of the competition out there. Yeah. Take a look at some of the hashtags that they are using, and pay attention to the ones that they're using that you're not using.
Right.
And see, as you add those into the mix, if it's making a difference. Yeah. All right. How do we get people to follow a hashtag I create? I just tell them, right? Like whenever you got whenever you have your audience's attention, that's why I tell people, I'm like, going on live is great, because a lot of times when you go on live, you are able to engage with people, sometimes more of your audience at once than some of the posts that you do. Mm-hmm. And so in those moments, you can tell them, hey, just a few notes. First of all, if you haven't turned on notifications for things related to me and my particular page on Instagram, please do so, right? And number two, there's this particular hashtag is a hashtag that we're using for our business. And so when you follow that hashtag, it'll make sure that you see all of these different posts, whether I'm posting it or other people who are posting about our business are using it, you'll see it. And so those are great moments to do that. And also in the real world, when you're doing live presentations and all of it, just have that stuff visible, let people know. Whenever you get the opportunity to tell someone, you should.
Absolutely.
Okay? Cammie, you're very welcome. All right. Feel free, if anyone has any other questions, please don't hesitate to throw them in the chat and we will get to them. All right.
Mind sharing again the link to the presentation just in case anybody came on late and maybe didn't.
Oh yeah. Follow the for the link for the presentation.
Okay. Yep, we'll do. Go gadget. There it is.
Perfect.
And also, we will share the link for our website.
Yep.
All right. And for those of you, shameless plug before we get back over to the presentation, if no one has any questions. So as we mentioned before, we did create a children's book recently. It's called She Sees. It's based on a song that I wrote called In My Daughter's Eyes. And this brilliant idea to create this book is courtesy of this amazing woman here. And
I try.
yeah, you do. And so yes, so if you're interested in the book, at least checking it out or potentially ordering the book, you can order it through the store on our website. Especially if you got little ones and if you know any girl dads, you know.
And also we're going to be, oh, you have the book. So next week, we're actually going to, for those of you that are interested in maybe even producing your own, we self-publish. And so for those who are interested in learning more about that, on how to do that. Now, granted, we did a children's book, a picture book. We didn't do a fiction or nonfiction, but if you want to learn more, we'll be going on YouTube live next Wednesday, where we'll be meeting with the illustrator as well and talking about how that all came to be and you know, and how to do it, basically do it how we did it.
Yep.
So if you're those who want to learn more, definitely make sure to follow us on social media so you could be updated on that.
Absolutely. And we're really easy to find on social media. As you can see, our website there, subartandmusic.com. It's Sub Art and Music for everything.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and that's a social media tip that we didn't go over. If you're a person who hasn't created the name of your company yet, right, and you're still figuring that out, one of the things you should do is not just checking on the .com, but also checking to see if the social media is available across all platforms. And so that way you don't have to be a person that has 3 or 4 different social media accounts that all have slightly different variations of your company name. And then the website is something completely different as well. It makes you harder to find in the different spaces you're operating in. So just a little tip. But yeah, let's go ahead and share the screen, and we're going to close out with these resources. And feel free to ask us any questions that come to mind. All right. So you want to cover this, and then I'll cover the next one.
Yes. And also just remember, folks, for those who are leaving, if you please wouldn't mind completing our exit survey that is available on the chat, just so that we have that from you before you go. Yes. So tools and opportunities for visual artists, business of art. So if you want to learn more about the business of art, there's artbizsuccess.com, Artsy Shark, Fine Art Tips, and skinnyartist.com. We got a lot of our information that we provided you guys with this presentation. We got some of it from here. These are great resources. If you're interested in learning more about freelance, there's 99 Design, Fiverr, which is a great resource. It's done very well for a lot of freelance artists. Freelancer and Upwork is another resource for those of you that are freelancers and are looking for opportunities. For grant opportunities or advocacy for the arts, definitely make yourself familiar with Americans for the Arts. Your local arts organizations, or usually it's either an arts council or they'll say it's the Arts Commission, but definitely you want to be very familiar with your local arts agencies. Next Level is another great resources for those that are into hip hop, whether you're a dancer, performing artist, an MC, a DJ, a videographer. This is aerosol artist, exactly. This is an opportunity where you get to travel internationally as a hip hop ambassador from the United States to different countries in the world to basically share your knowledge with different youth.
Yeah, and it's and they cover everything. They cover all of the expenses, and you're paid for your time as well.
Make yourself again familiar with the National Endowment for the Arts. They are a federal agency that provides basically grant funding to organizations who therefore are able to re-grant those funds and those resources to arts organizations and individual artists. Of course, YouTube Creator Academy is another one. If you want to learn more information on how to become a YouTuber or just familiarize yourself with the process. For online portfolios, we already talked about Behance. There's also Flickr if you're a photographer. Pinterest is another place that if you want to post your portfolio on. There's also something called portfoliobox.net. Squarespace, which is a great website hosting provider, but they also have great templates for artists to display their work. And then there's also VSCO. To sell your art online, there's Amazon, of course, Blurb, Casetify, eBay, Etsy, Printful, Redbubble. Again, the list goes on and on. If you're a person that does graphics and wants to transfer your work onto Fabric, Spoonflower is another great resource for that. For those who are visual and video editing, 8-Bit, Photolab, Adobe, Spark, Photoshop Express, Lightroom, Canva, Filmorago.
Yeah, Filmorago. That's one of the ones I use.
Okay, GiphyCam, PhotoGrid. Again, all these resources are great.
Oh, and my favorite isn't on the list, and I don't know why I didn't do that. You can add it in. Okay. InShot. Oh my goodness. InShot is definitely a personal favorite of mine. It's probably the only app that I consistently pay for every year.
S?
Yes. Yep. InShot. Yeah, that's a great one. You can do a lot with that app. All right.
And we'll update we'll send an updated presentation.
Well, yep, absolutely. All right. So tools for performing artists. So these are 3 quality audio hosting websites. AudioMac, if you're not familiar with it, definitely worth checking out. But the GOAT, the greatest of all time, my personal favorite is Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a great platform to host your music on, and they have amazing resources. And most importantly, if someone purchases your music on Bandcamp today, you will be paid tomorrow. If they purchase merchandise, you will be paid instantly. And unlike streaming platforms that take 2 to 3 months to process the money that is owed to you, which takes us on to digital distribution. Some of the sites worth checking out. Amuse is one option. AWOL is another option. AWOL is by submission only. You can't, even if you have the money to pay for your music being distributed, AWOL basically curates what artists they want to work with and all of that. Next up, you got CD Baby, DistroKid. Oh, and CD Baby is great if you also have physical merchandise. Pardon me. My apologies. Also, DistroKid, Lander, Symphonic, TuneCore, and United Masters. Resources for dancers. You got Dancers Alliance, National Dance Education Organization, the Dancers Resource, the Working Dancer, and Dance Magazine. Any of these things that you see here, obviously these aren't links, but this is just as simple as being able to type this into a quick Google search and all the information you need about these organizations will pop up. Resources for actors, the Actors Fund, Backstage, IMDb Pro, SAG-AFTRA, and Stage Milk. And then performance rights organizations for musicians. You have ASCAP, which is probably the most popular. BMI is also very popular, specifically if you're a person who's looking to get more, if you're going to have more of your music on television and film. And then CSAC, all right, is another one that's not as popular, and it's by invite only. All right.
I was just going to say also, if you guys come across anything that's not on the list that you think should be, definitely let us know as well.
Please contact us. Yep. Because we try to constantly build these resources because we're always sharing it with other creatives. All right. So let's help our global community. All right. So royalty financing. So if you're a person who could use a loan for your business, but you don't want a traditional loan, you can basically borrow against your future earnings. So different options you have for musicians. There's something called sound royalties. If you search them up, you basically, if you're a person who's already making money from your music, they basically require access to your accounts to be able to see how much you've made, and they will approve you for bare minimum $5,000 on future earnings. And then what they do is to collect that money rather than you having to make monthly payments. They basically just collect your future earnings until that is paid off. And then after that, it goes back to normal. So if it's like getting an advance from a record label, but you're getting the advance from yourself. All right. Next up is PayPal working capital. If you're a person who uses PayPal to collect payment, you can actually go to PayPal working capital and apply for a loan from them, and it doesn't hurt your credit. They basically access all the information that you've already made available to them in order to sell your product through or using PayPal or collect money through PayPal. And it only takes about 20 minutes to potentially get approved and receive the money. And so it's something that we have a lot of experience with it. I believe we've done it at least 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's worked great to help our business. And Square does something similar. They have Square working capital as well. And then last up, you have grant opportunities and advocacy. A lot of this information is the same as the page before. And so the last, because we know we only have 2 minutes.
The last two are, so we have for writers, for any the writers in the room or multimedia artists, resources for you all. Of course, for writers, Grammarly, Jane Friedman, Writer's Digest, Lulu, which is a publisher, a printer, and Medium that we mentioned earlier. For filmmakers, you might want, if you're if you're working with scripts, there's something called Writer Duet, Scripto. Again, these are both free. Studio Binder, OpenShot, and iMovie. For video hosting websites, we have Vimeo, YouTube, Bandcamp Pro, as Sam mentioned before, and then other helpful online tools is Amp Playbook, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. Same stuff that was on before. And then the last one is just general resources, which we do have website links, your public library, your foundation center, if you want to learn more about grants and applying for a grant, National Performing Arts Funding Exchange, your state library, State Department rather, for art in the embassies. We talked about having your art in these public spaces, U.S. Department of State Exchange Program, the U.S. Department of Arts and Culture, if you're interested in working in the U.S. or outside. If you do plan to work in the federal or even state government, they may require you to have what's called a Duns and Bradstreet number, which is free. It's just like an IRS number to obtain. But in order to do business with the federal government, most of them do require that you have that.
All right.
And this is our contact information for those that are interested in staying in touch with us. And we hope that you do. You can definitely reach out to us. And here's our contact information. And again, the exit survey, we already posted that onto the chat. Yep. Again, if you have any questions, we're still here. So feel free to send us a text. Or a chat, rather, a text.
I mentioned, I don't know if you guys saw in the chat, but for those of you, and I think probably most of the people on here are in Hawaii, but for those of you definitely in Hawaii, you can always check out the State Foundation in Culture and the Arts, which is the umbrella under which the Hawaii State Art Museum falls, for grant opportunities. HiSam does, workshops with visual artists. So we pay our visual artists to come do workshops, and we're branching out too. So it's not just going to be visual workshops. We'll try to do other kinds of workshops like this one. So just if you're looking for kind of local opportunities, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Alex, and thank you, HiSam, for inviting us back. We had such a great time with you all the last time we were there before the world shut down. So, but it was such a great. You guys are in such a great space, and the quality of artwork that you guys have and the artists that you have out there was amazing. So, kudos to you all who are over there. Definitely, keep up the good work. If you have any questions that you think of later on, definitely feel free to reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to do this with us here on Zoom, and finding, like we were talking about before, finding creative ways to get content out there with all of the changes that have happened since COVID started. So thank you all for being here with us.
Yeah,
Our
absolutely.
pleasure.
I mean, we were doing this even before the shutdown, but
Yeah.
the request for it was even more so because of it, because people are like, they've had to find creative ways to survive. So
yeah, our business picked up a lot when everything started changing, because people who attended our workshops previously remembered us. One of the things that we would say all the time is like, look, touring's great, or traveling to do, but what happens when you can't, right? And so, and that's how we would segue into passive income. So it's, the universe has a funny way of, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. But thank you all so much. We definitely appreciate you making the time for us, and we hope that you're able to thrive in these interesting times, and you found this information useful.
Yeah, and keep us posted with your success.
Yes, we like bragging on the people who who are successful and have been able to apply this information. We love to brag on the successes.
Absolutely.
So, please tell us.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.